Let's look at our I can statement. I can share my thinking about the story. Today, when you're sharing your thinking, we're going to be sharing about why something is happening in the story. Let's go ahead and look back at Jacob's ladder. What story have we been using this week as we're working on Jacob's ladder? Do you remember? Well, what's the title of it? Hmm. Do you remember? It is the mitten. You're right. So we are still using the story The Mitten, but today we are going to be learning the next step on Jacob's ladder. Let's go ahead and look at it. Are you ready? Okay. So the next step that we are going to be looking at is a fancy word called implications. And in a moment, we're going to talk about what this fancy word means. But first, let's go ahead and see how you are going to be a really great communicator. Are you ready? So, I can talk with my friends to help me to understand the story better. And you're going to be doing this in 3 different ways. I listen and ask questions so I can understand. I speak so others can understand me. And I write to share my ideas. So today, you are going to share and show that you are a great communicator. Let's go ahead and look back at this fancy word. Our next step on Jacob's ladder is implications. So implication is understanding something from the story that was not said. So when we think about the story, if we're finding an implication, we're figuring something out that was not written down in the words. Okay? It's understanding something from the story that was not said. So let's go ahead and look at an example of an implication. Are you ready? Okay, so do you remember when we were looking at this cause and effect example? Remember we said cause is the reason why something happens, and we looked at the example here of you push your friend, and then we said that the effect was then what happens? Your friend falls. We looked at this earlier this week when we were looking at cause and effect on Jacob's ladder, but now we're looking at implications. Implications, the result of what happened. So after the friend was pushed and your friend falls, the implication, look at this picture. What do you see? Describe what is the implication. You're right. She has a broken heart and the friend is hurt. So now I want to look at an implication in the story, The Mitten. So when we were looking at The Mitten, we had a lot of different things that were happening in this. And I have a question for you, and I want you to help me figure out the implication. Are you ready to help me? Okay. So how would Baba feel if Nikki did not come home with the mitten? How would Baba feel if Nikki did not come home with the mitten? Think about it and share your ideas. How do you think Baba would feel if Nikki did not come home with the mitten? Well, let's look back at the story. I remember at the very beginning of the story, do you remember when Nikki really wanted mittens as white as snow? And his Baba, his grandmother, was knitting. And remember, at first, she did not It says, at first his grandmother Baba did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she warned, you'll never find it. So she was very concerned about him dropping the mittens in the snow and not finding the mittens. Well, why do you think he wouldn't find the mitten in the snow? Do you know why? Well, what color mittens does Nikki want Baba to make him? You're right, snow white mittens. And Baba was very concerned that the mittens could drop in the snow and Nikki could lose them. She says, if you drop one in the snow, she warned, you'll never find it. But Nikki wanted snow white mittens, and finally Baba made them. So he really, really wanted snow white mittens. So Baba made them. Now, after she made the mittens, it says here, after she finished, she said, when you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound. But then I will look to see if you still have your snow white mittens. She says right here that she wants to make sure he's safe and sound first, but then she's going to check to see if he has something. What does she say she's going to check to see if he has? Yeah, the snow white mittens. You're right. And as soon as he left, so off Nikki went, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. She just said this to him, and look, he only got this far. Bam, dropped it right there. He's climbed up the tree and already dropped his snow white mitten. So let's think back here to the question. How would Baba feel if Nikki did not come home with the mitten? What do you think? Let's share some ideas. How would Baba feel if Nikki did not come home with the mitten? Okay, readers, let's communicate our ideas at this time. Remember, we looked back at the story. We know that Baba made the mittens, and at first she didn't want them to be snow white because she was afraid that Nikki would lose them in the snow. And look what happened. Soon as he had it on, he drops one in the snow there. So how do you think Baba would feel if Nikki did not come home with the mittens? All right, let's go ahead and share our ideas. And we're going to look back one final time at the I can statement. I can share my thinking about the story. And remember, we're thinking about why something is happening in the story. Great job, readers.